Don't forget to be grateful to others. Under no circumstances should you harbor hatred or look down on people. Ever since I can remember, my mom raised me with these words. Although I can say I grew up in a privileged environment, these words helped me get along well with those around me. I never could have imagined that such an event would await someone like me. My name is Michael. When I was 2, my parents divorced, and I was taken in by my mom. My dad was apparently careless with money, and the child support payments stopped coming soon after, leading to a complete loss of contact. Because of this, my household had to get by on just my mom's salary. To be honest, we were poor. We lived in a cheap, run-down apartment, and my mom always looked for the cheapest items when shopping. But I never heard her utter a word of resentment towards my dad. "Don't you hate Dad?" When I asked, my mom seemed to ponder for a moment. "Well, at first I did resent your father. After all, he promised to pay child support and then just disappeared. But one day, I realized that harboring hatred gets you nowhere. I thought it was better to be grateful for the people who support me now and live life positively," she said with a smile. Even though I was only in an elementary school, I thought my mom, who managed to change her mindset, was a strong person. At the same time, I wanted to be like her. Until then, I had always envied my friends who could afford expensive games and resented my circumstances for being poor. But after hearing my mom's story, I changed my way of thinking. I stopped comparing myself to others. Instead, I started to value my friends and everyone around me more. As a result, people started to treat me kinder than before. I made friends who would help me out when I was in trouble. Especially in terms of studies, I received a lot of help. I couldn't afford to go to supplemental classes due to financial reasons, and my mom was working from morning till night, so there were hardly any chances to ask her questions. Instead, my friends would teach me during breaks what I didn't understand. Maintaining high scores on tests was clearly thanks to my friends. "Thanks for everything," I would say, and my friends would respond. "Teaching others actually helps me understand better too, so I'm thankful as well." Looking back, I really think they were great friends. Even after entering junior high, my grades were among the top in my year. But when it came time to decide on a career path, I chose to work. I wanted to ease my mom's burden as much as possible. At the time, my mom worked at a convenience store early in the morning and took a cleaning job at night. She was literally working all the time, sparing no time for sleep. There were times she was so exhausted that she fell asleep on the couch. It was clear even to a child like me that she was pushing herself too hard. I wanted to earn money as soon as possible to help my mom out. Both my teacher and mom were against my decision to work right after junior high. My mom, in particular, was worried about my future and urged me to continue my education. "You should at least go to high school. The salary is different, and it can affect promotions at some companies. Don't worry about the cost of tuition." She persuaded me many times, but my resolve didn't waver. I'd rather work than study, I asserted strongly, and finally, my mom respected my wishes. "If you feel that strongly about it, I'll respect your decision, Michael." And so, I was set to enter the workforce earlier than my classmates. There weren't many companies hiring junior high graduates, but I managed to get an offer from a local factory. Since it wasn't within commuting distance, I had to start living on my own. Now it's time for me to stand on my own 2 feet and make my way in the world. Having been hired, I was determined to work hard and was eager to start. The job I was assigned was manufacturing parts like screws. At first, the work was a series of unfamiliar tasks. There were times I felt down after making mistakes, but thinking of my mother's hardships, I realized this was nothing and worked desperately. My efforts gradually earned me recognition from my boss, David. I received a raise and finally was able to send money home to my mother. Michael, you've really grown up. I'll use it wisely. The first time I sent money home, my mother's eyes welled up a little. I felt warm inside, knowing I had finally managed to do something filial. But that wasn't the only good thing about working. I made friends with whom I got along well at work. Among them, I became close with a female employee named Emily. Emily and I were not only hired at the same time, but were also middle school graduates. Moreover, we hit it off quickly because we both were raised in single-parent households. Emily was incredibly kind and considerate. Not only that, but she also had a bright personality, always smiling. Her smile lifted me up even when I was feeling down about mistakes. Without her, I would have felt lonely, being among the few employees of similar age. Half a year after we met, we started visiting each other's homes on our days off. Spending time with someone I clicked with was incredibly fulfilling. Before I knew it, I had developed feelings for Emily. I even took her to my hometown. My mother quickly became close with Emily as well. Since the divorce, my mother had been buried in work, and her interactions with female friends had decreased. It's been a while since I've had such a fun chat with someone. Thanks for introducing me to Emily. My mother looked as if she had reverted to her younger self, her eyes sparkling. It was the first time I had seen my mother look so lively. Thus, Emily, my mother, and I began to meet regularly. Sometimes, the three of us went out and had a great time. But that wasn't all. I took Emily to a special place. It was a free tutoring center where I volunteered. The center offers free educational support to children who can't afford tutoring due to financial reasons. Shortly after moving, I found a volunteer recruitment flyer in my mailbox. I've had experiences where friends helped me with my studies. In the same way, I thought it would be great if I could be of help to someone else, so I applied. As a volunteer, I was teaching math to elementary school students on some days. Teaching isn't easy, but it's very rewarding. When a child who previously couldn't score 50% on a test gradually improved and got 100%, I was as happy as if it were my own achievement. Above all, hearing a child say, "I used to hate math, but I like learning it from Michael," made me incredibly happy. About a year into volunteering, when they were looking for literature teacher, I invited Emily to try. She has high communication skills and is good at explaining things, so I thought she would be perfect. Fortunately, Emily showed interest. After trying out teaching once, she immediately became popular with the children and was quickly hired. Since then, going to the tutoring center together on Sundays became our routine. Both my private and work life are going splendidly. However, pitfalls often wait where you least expect them. About 2 years after I started working, a company that regularly placed large orders went bankrupt. My company was hit by the fallout, and our performance plummeted. The company began considering layoffs, and being middle school graduates, Emily and I were among those targeted. I felt like I understood why my mother was so worried about me being a middle school graduate. However, David opposed our layoffs. "You both have become valuable assets to the company now, a significant part of our workforce. I want to avoid layoffs at all costs," he said, negotiating with the higher-ups on our behalf. As a result, the two of us were spared from being laid off. But there was a condition. We had to find new clients. The deadline was 2 months. If we couldn't find any by then, we should be prepared to lose our jobs. "I'm sorry I couldn't do more to protect you," David said apologetically, but I was grateful just to have this chance. Since I have been working diligently, I was chosen to handle sales. I was determined to secure new clients. Initially, I was enthusiastic, but it turned out to be more challenging than expected. Being new to the task, I struggled to pitch effectively at first. Even after practicing with Emily and David and getting the hang of it, no company seemed interested, and I gradually felt more pressured. I visited dozens of companies, trying to build relationships, but all were unsuccessful. The fatigue was overwhelming. Before I knew it, a month had passed. Not just my job, but Emily's as well, was on the line. It was getting critical to secure a contract soon. With a do-or-die attitude, I approached a certain company. I passionately explained the strengths of my company to an employee there, Sarah. It went better than any other attempt. Sarah's response was very positive. "Your factory may not be the largest, but your production system is very well organized. We wouldn't have any issues with placing large orders." "That's right, that's our company's strength," I responded, leaning in and emphasizing our advantages. For the first time, I felt a glimmer of hope. After reviewing the materials I brought, Sarah smiled warmly. "Your company's excellent production system is attractive to us. Could you present to our CEO Anderson and an efficient employee named Brian? If they like it, we'll contract with your company." "Really? I would appreciate that opportunity." When I expressed my joy, Sarah continued, "However, there are other candidate companies as well, and they will present on the same day. We will only contract with the one that impresses us the most, so there's no guarantee that you will be chosen." "Understood." Given this situation, I'm determined to deliver the best presentation and secure the contract. I immediately went back to the company and explained everything to Emily and David. Both were determined to help in any way possible to secure the contract. From that day, we immersed ourselves in preparing for the presentation. From creating materials to send to the company in advance to practicing the presentation, there was a lot to do. All these tasks were new to us and challenging, and sometimes we worked overtime. But there was no room for complaints. Not only our jobs, but also the fate of the company was at stake. Whenever the work didn't progress as hoped, Emily encouraged me. "We'll surely succeed if we persevere here. I'm with you all the way." Her advice during the document preparation was invaluable. Her insights were precise and greatly helpful. I was grateful for the numerous times she joined me for presentation practice. She pointed out things like voice tone and where to look, details I wouldn't have noticed on my own. The children at the free tutoring center also gave me hidden strength. Their dedication to their studies unknowingly motivated me. A certain fourth grader at an elementary school declared he would score 100% on their next math test and was studying seriously. Seeing such effort made me think, if he can work this hard, so can I. Motivated, I dedicated time to preparing for the presentation at home after the free tutoring sessions were over. I finished sending the preliminary documents to the prospective company and received approval after rehearsing the presentation in front of my boss. Then came the day of the presentation. "Since you've practiced so much, you'll be fine," Emily encouraged me as I headed to the prospective company. In the waiting room, I was quite nervous. Taking deep breaths helped me regain some calm. "Right, let's check the presentation materials one more time." I took out my laptop and opened the saved documents. Just as I was about to check, the door to the waiting room opened and a man wearing an expensive-looking suit entered. "Nice to meet you, my name is Brian." His name sounded familiar. He was the employee who would be attending my presentation. When I last met with Sarah, she mentioned at the end that he was a highly educated elite. "Nice to meet you too, I'm Michael. Thank you for giving me an opportunity for presentation." I greeted him politely. For some reason, Brian started smirking. "So you're Michael, still green, aren't you?" I thought that it is rude to say to someone his meeting for the first time. I was irked inside but remembered I was also a working adult. I tried to laugh it off. Haha, well, I am a middle school graduate after all. Brian's face turned even more disdainful. Wow, a middle school dropout. You should feel grateful to be breathing the same air as me, and to think, reviewing your materials in the waiting room, must be tough for someone from the bottom ring of society to land a contract. I wondered if the people with middle school graduate were so bad, and if the people who had highly educated were so great. He didn't know what he was allowed to say and what he was not allowed to say. As my irritation grew, Brian didn't stop. And to think you'd try to make a move on Sarah. Don't get ahead of yourself, he sneered. I could not understand what he was talking about. My interaction with Sarah was purely professional. My patience snapped at his barrage of insults. Just as I was about to say hold on, the door swung open. Brian, do you know who this person is? A voice followed. There stood Sarah, with an angry expression on her face. Brian remained unflinchingly arrogant. He is a bottom feeder of society, isn't he? A middle school dropout. Don't get so worked up. Sarah sighed in exasperation. You really don't understand. Michael is someone special to you, Brian. What do you mean? I asked, intrigued by her words. Brian has been looking for a new company to supply parts for his project since the company he was dealing with went bankrupt. Michael's factory is one of the candidates. Sarah explained, then looked at Brian. Brian's project is a major one, critical to our company's future. In essence, Brian's career is on the line too. That's why you were eagerly looking forward to today's presentation, right? You were excited because you thought Michael's company had the best preliminary materials. Brian turned pale. You mean, he's the one who prepared those documents? Yes, the very Michael you were mocking. Brian was dumbfounded. As this exchange unfolded, it was time for the presentation. I had been working hard for this day. Deciding to put the exchange in the waiting room behind me, I focused on the presentation. Faced with CEO Anderson, I was nervous, but I managed to perform well, just as I had practiced. After watching all the company's presentations, CEO Anderson said, Michael's company was the best. Let's go with his company for our new partnership. Brian agreed with the decision. Thank you very much. I stood up energetically from my chair to express my gratitude. This meant my company, Emily, and everyone else would be saved. I felt truly glad for all the hard work I had put in. After the meeting, Brian came over to apologize. I'm really sorry for looking down on you earlier. The materials you prepared in your presentation were excellent. Being a middle school graduate doesn't matter. You are clearly a capable person. He admitted to misunderstanding my interaction with Sarah, thinking I was making inappropriate advances after seeing us talk happily. Seeing Brian repeatedly apologize, my anger subsided. No, it's okay now. As long as you understand, it's fine. Sarah also looked relieved. This incident has made it clear that educational background doesn't matter. Michael, you researched our company thoroughly for your presentation, and the materials you prepared were outstanding. We look forward to working with you. Likewise, thank you. In a friendly atmosphere, I left the prospective company. When I returned to my company and announced our success, everyone was overjoyed. Emily was even moved to tears. It's all thanks to the support you've given me, Emily. Thank you. I went to Emily to express my gratitude. She modestly said, It's not like that. It's all thanks to your effort. But I knew that without Emily, that quality of presentation wouldn't have been possible. I decided never to forget the support she had given me. Thus, our company's performance recovered, and the threat of layoffs for Emily and me was averted. It was great to return to working energetically at the company. Emily and I continued to be in charge of the project with a new client company. As for Brian, he was removed from the project. Apparently, CEO Anderson had overheard his derogatory comments towards me. Angered, CEO Anderson reassigned him to a smaller project. It turns out CEO Anderson himself had risen from a middle school graduate to the position of CEO and couldn't tolerate educational discrimination. Sarah was assigned to lead the new project instead. According to Sarah, Brian was truly remorseful and was working hard in his new role. Emily, Sarah, and I worked together to grow the business. Now, our companies are bringing significant benefits to each other. There was also significant progress in my personal life. Around this time, I confessed my feelings to Emily. Her response was a joyful yes, and we officially became a couple. Both of our parents have given their blessing. I'm currently contemplating when to propose marriage. We still attend a free tutoring center together. Not only that, but Sarah also showed interest in the tutoring center and has started working as a volunteer staff member. She quickly became popular with the children, as she loves them. Indeed, the child who had declared he would score 100% on their test actually achieved it. From them, I was reminded once again of the importance of hard work. Looking back on my life, there have been many challenges. But I've managed to get through thanks to the help of those around me. I plan to continue working hard in both my professional and personal life, never forgetting to be grateful to those around me. I want a divorce. What? One day, out of the blue, I, Steve, was blindsided by my wife Olivia's request for a divorce. I couldn't understand why she wanted a divorce. I was completely clueless because I hadn't done anything that might lead to this. A divorce? You're joking, right? I'm not joking. I'm serious. Why? Tell me the reason. I asked Olivia for an explanation, but she refused to say anything. How did it come to this? I racked my brain trying to figure it out. Olivia and I met through mutual friends. We both loved watching movies, and since Olivia was a former drama club member, we went to see a lot of movies and plays together. After many dates, we started going steady and eventually got married. I was content with Olivia, and I thought she felt the same. But now, she was just looking down, not saying a word. The silence was painfully awkward. Unable to stand it any longer, I finally broke the silence. If you want a divorce, at least tell me why. I won't agree to it otherwise. I have a right to know the reason, don't I? Reluctantly, as if she was being forced, Olivia let out a heavy sigh. I've found someone else. Excuse me. That's right. I've fallen for someone else. Shall I contact him for you? The Olivia I was seeing was cold and unlike the woman I had lived with for 5 years. Could this really be the same woman I had shared my life with for so long? Confused as I was, Olivia seemed unapologetic and defiant. Her demeanor only fueled my anger over my confusion. Here, this is the person. Olivia showed me a photo of her with another man, pushing my anger to its limit. How dare you? Are you making a fool out of me? Feeling betrayed by the woman I loved, my love for Olivia turned into hatred. I didn't realize it at the time, but Olivia looked momentarily sad, or maybe relieved, at my reaction. Don't bother trying to get alimony. There's no proof. Her cold words chilled the room. What was my love worth? Was the time I spent with her so insignificant that she could just replace me with another man? Was I really that insignificant? I felt more and more miserable. Why did I ever love such a woman? Filled with disgust for Olivia, I agreed on divorce. Olivia quickly left with her bags, which she had already packed. The next day, I was left alone in our spacious house. For a while, I survived on takeout food, living life in a daze. But eventually, I realized that wasn't going to cut it and threw myself into work to distract myself from the loneliness. As time passed, my anger faded, and occasionally I would remember Olivia's good qualities, which made me feel sad. I found myself feeling down quite often, and seeing this, my boss Michael suggested we grab some dinner, taking me to a fairly nice restaurant. As we looked out at the night view, Michael encouraged me, saying, "There will be another chance. Forget about that terrible woman," and gradually, I began to think less and less about Olivia. 2 years later, I received a call from my sister-in-law, Emily. I had no intention of speaking to her, so I didn't answer the phone and eventually blocked her number because she was persistent. Even though I thought there was nothing left to discuss, Emily shockingly showed up at my house, which took me by surprise. "Please leave. You're not welcome." "Please, I really need to talk to you." Emily came to my house and said that, but I slammed the door in her face. The reason I avoided Emily was because she looked too much like Olivia. Seeing Emily reminded me of Olivia. They were that similar. I just couldn't bring myself to talk, and as I kept avoiding Emily, she showed up again a few days later. To my astonishment, Emily deliberately wore the same clothes as Olivia and came to see me. Enough already. Olivia left me, stopped making me feel miserable. Angry and thinking it was a mockery, I couldn't control my emotion and ended up shouting. But Emily wouldn't back down. "I know it's presumptuous, but I really need to talk to you. My sister loved you." Emily seemed to let it slip in the heat of the moment and then looked as if she regretted it. I thought, "What are you talking about? Don't say such ridiculous things." But Emily's face showed genuine regret for her slip-up. Olivia loved me. I couldn't understand why she would say that. "I'll be waiting at the Cat's Hotel. If you felt even a slight doubt about my sister, please come." "Can't we talk here? It's not possible here." With that, Emily ran off. I took a moment to think. Honestly, I was initially furious and thought it was a joke, but as I calmed down, I couldn't deny feeling a touch of happiness seeing Emily dressed like Olivia. The last time I spoke with Olivia about the divorce, I indeed felt something was off. It was as if the person in front of me wasn't the Olivia I knew, but someone else wearing her face. Was that really Olivia? To confirm all my questions, I headed to the hotel. A restaurant at the Cat's Hotel. It had private rooms, and it was also the place where I proposed to Olivia. Emily had stopped dressing like Olivia and apologized as soon as I arrived. "I'm sorry for making you uncomfortable. We needed privacy. Thank you for coming. If you're going to apologize, then tell me why you called me here. Olivia loved me. Then why isn't she here?" As I pressed for answers, Emily quietly said, "My sister has passed away. The direct cause was an accident, but that's not the whole story." "Wait, hold on. Olivia is dead. How?" Hearing about Olivia's death, I couldn't hide my shock. Emily seemed to have anticipated my reaction and quietly continued. "The truth is, my sister was in debt. Debt, to be precise. She wasn't the one who took out the loans, but she became a guarantor, and then, wait, I can't keep up." The story was too much to take in all at once, and I gulped down the water on the table. Olivia is gone, and she was in debt. I had no idea about any of this. It seems Olivia had secrets she kept from me. According to Emily, Olivia had a close friend in college. This friend was very serious and talked about starting a business after graduation. Olivia said her friend was smart and capable enough to start a business. But then, a problem arose. Starting a business requires capital. The friend was all alone in the world, with no one to act as a guarantor. My sister was 21 at the time and was eligible to be a guarantor. She was close to the friend and wanted to support her friend's dream, so she signed on a dotted line as a guarantor. The friend thanked Olivia and then graduated from university without any issues. However, the friend had lied to Olivia. The friend was involved with loan sharks and disappeared. The debt heavily burdened Olivia. My sister tried to handle it all by herself. That's ridiculous. Why didn't you talk to me about it? We're family. It's normal to discuss these things. The friend disappeared only recently. Until then, they had been in regular contact. But suddenly, there was no response, and the creditors started contacting my sister. The initial loan was about $10,000, but the friend apparently intentionally avoided repayments, and the amount ballooned due to interest. According to Emily, the debt had exceeded $50,000. The contract was made before your marriage, so Steve, you're not responsible for the repayment. My sister decided to distance herself from you because she was deceived and didn't want to cause you any suffering. Olivia decided to get a divorce using the debt as a reason and thought about how to make you give up on her, hoping you'd think, I'm better off without such a woman, and fabricated a story about an affair. She thought that even if she told you about the debt, you would persist. Knowing your character, Olivia resorted to such measures. The man in the photo pretending to be the other man in the affair was actually Emily's boyfriend, who wasn't involved in any cheating. The reason Olivia felt like a different person when she filed for divorce was that she was playing the role of the worst woman who cheats on and leaves her husband. I was completely fooled by Olivia, who had dreamed of becoming an actress. My sister worked from morning till night to pay off the debt. She kept it a secret even from our family, working part-time in the mornings and at a bar every night. The debt collectors were reckless, and it seems she hardly slept. Perhaps it was too much for her. She didn't notice a car approaching while driving and collided with it. When Emily and her family arrived at the hospital, it was already too late for Olivia. The doctors said that due to severe overwork and lack of physical strength, recovery was difficult, and Olivia passed away a few days later. Our family only found out about the debt then. The insurance money was all used for repayment, and all that's left of my sister is this. Saying that, Emily handed me a cell phone. It was Olivia's cell phone. I looked at Emily. I want you to see this. It shows my sister's feelings for you. With the family's consent, I checked the cell phone. I didn't look at personal things like emails, but the photo folder was full of pictures of us. Pictures of me sleeping, pictures of meals I cooked on a whim. There were so many. I also opened a diary app. There weren't many entries, suggesting the diary wasn't written frequently. However, those few pages were all addressed to me. My once-in-a-lifetime performance. I wonder if Steve will be fooled. No, I have to fool him. I can't let him be unhappy because of me. It's ironic that I practiced for my dream of becoming an actress, but I had to use those skills here. But it was worth it if it will distance him from me. This entry was dated the day Olivia asked for a divorce. It showed Olivia's resolve. There was a significant gap until the next entry, but again, it was about me. I saw someone who looked like Steve in town. Even though it's impossible, I couldn't help but follow him with my eyes. How silly. After I let him go, Steve surely doesn't want to see me anymore. I made it that way. I don't deserve to feel sad, but why am I so sad? How can I fill this emptiness? Olivia felt the same loss in her heart as I did. I've thought about the same thing. How can one fill the void in their heart? But such a thing is never truly filled. That's how significant we were to each other. They say that you only realize what you've lost once it's gone, and it's not entirely wrong. I felt the same way. The diary comes to its final page, but there are hardly any words written there. Just one sentence, I want to see Steve. Olivia, in her final moments, she was calling your name, wanting to see you. She said if she was going to die anyway, she should have gone to see you. Emily, in tears, handed me something. It was the last thing my sister held onto. Our family discussed what to do with it, thinking maybe it was better for Olivia's sake to stay silent. But it was too sad to let her feelings and misunderstandings remain as they were. I'm sorry. As I took what was handed to me, Emily covered her mouth and cried. Looking at what was given to me, my vision blurred. It was Olivia's wedding ring. Honestly, knowing Olivia's true feelings now doesn't change the fact that there's nothing I can do about it. It only adds to my pain, and perhaps ignorance would have been bliss. But the joy of knowing she truly loved me overpowers that pain, filling the loneliness of my heart. Olivia, she really did love me. That realization brought salvation to my heart. Tears streamed down my cheeks as I cried like a child. Time has passed since then, and I find myself visiting Olivia's grave. It took me a while to sort out my feelings, which is why my visit was delayed. This season has fully transitioned into spring, with the warm sunshine feeling pleasant. I'm sorry for being late, but it's your fault for putting on such an act, making me take so long to come here. Standing in front of Olivia's grave, I gaze at her name. You really fooled me with your once-in-a-lifetime performance. I had no idea you were such a great actress. I wish you had told me. While saying this, I can't help but smile. Thank you for going to such lengths for me. I promise to live a happy life, so just watch over me for a while. I'll bring lots of stories to share when I see you in heaven. With those words, I walked away. A breeze brushes my cheek, and petals from the newly blossomed cherry blossoms graze it as well. It feels as if Olivia is right there with me, and I find myself smiling gently. Oh Mom, you're getting married. I was so shocked to hear over the phone that my 53-year-old mother was remarrying that I inadvertently threw the comic I was reading. Yep, she said, laughing shyly. So it's true. Congratulations. We never talked about romance, so this news was more shocking than just being caught off guard. My mother was giggling like a young girl, saying, "Should I tell you about him?" But I quickly refused. The idea of hearing how my mom met this man was too much for me. I've been independent for over 20 years, so I told her to go ahead with a romance and was about to end the call when she said, "Actually, I've decided to retire when I get married. There's a vacancy. Why don't you work there?" She offered me a job at the cleaning company she was leaving, knowing I was unemployed. Taking over for my mom. It felt a bit embarrassing, but being shy and not great at socializing, I thought a job as a cleaner, where I could work quietly, might suit me. Well, I'll at least go for the interview. When I said that, my mom cheerfully laughed on the phone, saying, "Okay." She sounded so happy. My name is Sam. My father passed away from an illness when I was in middle school. Being shy, I was often bullied, but my dad was always there to comfort me. He loved collecting comics, even though they were all old-fashioned, but thanks to him, I became a total comic fan. When you're having a tough time in reality, escape to the world of stories. That advice, so typical of a comic fan, probably helped me get through the bullying. So, when he died, I didn't know how to face reality. The grief was too much, even being in the world of stories. But my mom raised me with cheer and encouragement, all by herself. She wasn't particularly beautiful, but she was sociable and well-liked for being meddlesome. Probably, someone fell for her inner qualities. I was surprised to learn she considered remarrying even past her 50s, and here I am, nearly 30, and still without a girlfriend. Reflecting on my situation, I felt a mix of resentment and admiration for her, but I genuinely wanted her to be happy and remarried. I used to work for a cosmetics company, but quit after 5 years due to excessive overtime and being unemployed. During this time, my mom introduced me to her cleaning job, and I went for an interview. It seemed easier than I thought. Easier because it didn't require much communication. It was simple physical work, of course requiring some interaction at first. But once you get the hang of it, a hello here and there is all you need. That's what I thought. Maybe cleaning was the right job for me. Half a year into this new job, I got a call from my mom. I hate to say this since I'm the one who recommended it, but the pay for cleaning isn't great, and I'm worried about your future." My darling suggested. "Why doesn't he work at our place? What do you think?" Not to brag, but my darling's pretty wealthy. "Wow, Mom, marrying rich, and what's with darling? It sounds so weird." My mom replied, "Oh, it's just fine, dear," in a tone so sick it felt like there were about 10 more heart emojis attached to her words. She'd have completely transformed from a mom to a lovesick girl. It's fine for her to be lovey-dovey, but keep that cutesy voice away from my ears. I felt like I was going through a second phase of teenage rebellion. "Stop by our place if you feel like it. He wants to meet you." "Well, if I feel like it." I said so and hung up. In the end, I turned down the offer from my mom's darling. It's not that I dislike my mom's darling or anything. I was just embarrassed. They seem to understand and are patiently waiting for me to show up. So, my refusal was more about not being confident in fitting into a regular company and enjoying the cleaning job my mom got me. However, Joe, the manager, working at the company in the building I clean, is my only source of concern. "Hey, Sam, didn't I tell you to finish today's work by 5 p.m.? I'm sorry, but it was dirtier than I thought, so I wanted to be thorough." Making excuses, just trying to score some overtime pay, right? Geez, there are too many sneaky people like you around these days. No, I was really just like I'd believe someone with your education. What is this university? Never even heard of it. Joe, the manager, doesn't seem to like me and always talks down to me. He probably looks down on me for being just a cleaner. Maybe he bullies me, someone at the bottom, to reaffirm his own superiority. And he's the worst kind of person, groveling and fawning over those he thinks can benefit him. It's because his shallowness is so transparent that I dislike him. But while I enjoy being a cleaner, I can't say I'm proud of it in public. I feel like my self-esteem is being chipped away little by little here. Sometimes, I think maybe Joe's approach to life, climbing up to manager, is the way to success, and it frustrates me. Yet, I feel I must criticize what Joe is doing in front of me now. Lately, he's been disgustingly fawning over a woman. "Man, you are really cute, aren't you? Great figure, sharp eyes." I'm stuck listening to Joe's creepy voice talking about Emily, a woman who occasionally visits this building. Sure, she's strikingly beautiful. I get why Joe would be smitten, but it's clear Emily is not into his advances. "Why don't we have dinner sometime?" My treat. Dinner, I don't know. Emily was gently turning him down, but this sleazy manager wasn't backing off. His gaze and intentions were clearly dubious. This has been the scene every time Emily visits. While internally cursing Joe, I tried to just ignore whatever he said. I didn't want to lose my job and worry my mom again. But this time, I thought he went too far, so I blurted out, "Joe, actually, I wanted to ask about cleaning on the 4th floor." "What? You are still here? I'm not in the mood for." "Oh, are you discussing work? I wouldn't want to interrupt, so I'm leaving." Wait, Emily. It seems that Emily is a very perceptive woman. She quickly picked up on my assist and swiftly left the scene. In other words, she wanted to escape Joe's nearly harassing advances as soon as possible, which I wish Joe would realize, but he just glared at me like a jealous lover, saying, "Hey, low-educated Sam, you're messing things up. I won't let you off easy." Consequently, I faced even more pressure from Joe. Then, an incident happened. Oops. One day, I made a mistake of wet mopping where I should have dry mopped. As I hurriedly tried to wipe up the water, Joe unfortunately slipped there. Ouch. Hey, who's the incompetent fool did this? Suddenly yelled at by the boss, I froze. But I couldn't hide forever, so I stepped forward and he said, You're always a pain. Is this harassment? If you can clean properly, just quit," and kicked a bucket of water on me. The stares of the people in the building, the manager's shouts, the water on my body. I was close to panicking. Just when I thought I might be thrown out, a woman in a suit rushed over, saying, "What are you doing to my brother?" The woman was glaring sharply at Joe. I was surprised to see the woman. It was Emily. "Brother," I muttered in surprise. While wondering how such a delicate girl could be related to me, she said, "I'll report this to my father." Sam is Emily's brother, and what's this about a father? What's going on? Joe seemed to be shaken, perhaps more by Emily's uncharacteristic anger than anything else. "Despite being here so often, you weren't aware. Well, this is who I am." Saying this, she handed him a business card. Anderson Construction Company, President's Secretary. It appears that the business card bore the name of a major client company that do business with this company. Joe's face turned pale as he realized the shocking truth. "Mr. Anderson, Emily's father is, perhaps, as you guessed, my father is the president of Anderson Construction." He probably never dreamed that the woman he was trying to woo was the daughter of a prominent client. It seems he was in a different department and didn't know her name. "You've been quite persistent in your approaches. I'll be sure to bring this to attention." Perhaps Emily's words made him realize the potential loss of business. Or maybe his brain was overloaded with too much information. Either way, Joe fled the scene like a stray dog, without apologizing or explaining. As someone who's always had issues with Joe, I felt a sense of relief seeing him scamper away with his tail between his legs, but I was still puzzled why Emily called me brother. She then apologized to me. "Sorry for suddenly calling you brother." "No, it's fine, but maybe a long-lost sister or something." That was the only conclusion my mind could come to, but Emily chuckled and shook her head. "Actually, I'm your mother's new husband's daughter, so I'm your stepsister." Emily fidgeted with her hands, looking embarrassed. Before I could revel in her cuteness, I tried to make sense of the situation. So my mom married the president of Anderson Construction. To my question, my stepsister nodded emphatically. Mom had mentioned her darling was wealthy, but I had no idea she was marrying someone that influential. I recall now, my mom's new married name was Anderson. I probably should have realized sooner. And then I had to hear about my mom and her darling's romance, something I'd been awkwardly avoiding due to my adolescent-like embarrassment. Apparently, our cleaning company was in charge of Anderson Construction, and that's how my mom met the president, leading to their love story. Emily got along well with my mom, her stepmother, and they even went out for meals together. She had seen my picture from my mom and recognized me as the guy who helped her that day. "When I saw this picture, I realized you were the person who helped me that day. I wanted to thank you when we met today." Her innocent smile warmed my heart. The next day, I was called by CEO Johnson of the company in the building we clean. In his office was a crestfallen Joe, the manager. "Sam, I'm truly sorry. One of our employees has said some offensive things, and I failed to notice. I apologize." CEO Johnson was apologizing for what happened yesterday. He had heard everything from my mother's new husband, the president of Anderson Construction, and had been reprimanded. He had considered ending the business relationship but didn't want to trouble innocent employees. So, he explained that Mr. Anderson wanted me to decide Joe's fate. CEO Johnson said he'd listen to whatever I want to do with Joe. Me, decide his punishment. CEO Johnson said, that is, well, and gave me a knowing look, as if to say, I understand. I realized then. With my mom's remarriage, I had become the son of Anderson Construction Company's president, a significant title. The company didn't want to upset the important son of a major client. In just a few days, I had seemingly climbed to a position where I could dictate personnel decisions in this company. Thanks to CEO Johnson's consideration, I had Joe, my nemesis, at my mercy. "Sam, I'm really sorry. Please, please. Joe begged me. His actions were smooth and unhesitating. As soon as he realized I was the son of the CEO, this is how he treated me. At first, I looked at the dejected Joe and thought it was just desserts. But for some reason, I saw my past self, who couldn't do anything when bullied, in him. It reminded me of what my dad used to say when I was bullied. Getting back at someone mean won't make anything better, but returning kindness will surely improve things. So, Sam, be a kind person like your mom. That's how I was raised. I don't wish for Joe's termination. I just want him to stop looking down on others. A person's value isn't determined by education or upbringing. Even so, I like my life the way it is. The last part felt like something I was saying to myself, someone who couldn't fully take pride in being a cleaner. That's right, I haven't done anything to be ashamed of. It was like I was telling myself that, as much as I was telling Joe. My words seemed to hit home, and Joe apologized to me repeatedly. Later, I met with my mom, her new husband CEO Anderson, and his daughter. Emily asked me, "Would you like to have dinner with us?" I want to talk with my brother. How could I refuse such a request with her pleading eyes? So, I had my first meeting with the CEO. "I've been wanting to meet you, Sam." CEO Anderson greeted me warmly, holding my hand with a sincerity that didn't feel like a stranger. I felt an instant connection, thinking this man could indeed be family. There were times I felt uneasy about my mom choosing a wealthy man, but her judgment must be sound. During dinner, CEO Anderson praised me for helping Emily and for my magnanimous decision regarding Joe, saying he was proud. His genuine words of praise gave me confidence. I'm grateful to my late father for teaching me valuable lessons and hope for the happiness of my new father and my mom, who raised me single-handedly. I don't care if it's a family wedding or what, but do you think it's acceptable to take a day off on the day of an important client's founding anniversary party? My boss, Catherine, said that as she rejected my request for paid leave. My name is Michael. I graduated from college this year and joined a well-known major food company, famous for its TV commercials, and it's been 6 months since I started. I come from a single-parent family, living with my mom and my older sister. My mother, who works in a restaurant, doesn't earn much, and our family's life was tough when my sister and I were young. My sister, Elizabeth, 5 years older than me, didn't go to high school after finishing middle school. Instead, she got a job at a flower shop to help support our family along with our mother. So, I thought I'd have to work right after middle school, but my sister stopped me. "You're smarter than me and you like studying, so make sure you go to college. I'll figure out about the tuition." Thanks to her, she paid for my education and I was able to attend college. That's how I landed a job at a big corporation. Now, she's getting married next month. As her only brother, I absolutely want to attend and celebrate. That's why I begged Catherine, my boss, bowing deeply. "Please, it's my sister's wedding. She quit school after middle school to work and support our family, even paying for my college tuition. I really want to celebrate her wedding." But Catherine just sneered and laughed through her nose. "Oh, your sister only finished middle school. Must have been quite a poor upbringing to have to work instead of going to high school." Unbelievably, Catherine started looking down on my family. Anyway, it's been decided long ago that everyone in our sales division attends the client's founding anniversary party, especially for newcomers. It's a chance to be remembered, so I can't approve any leave for any reason," she said, and then tore up my leave application. Really, young people these days take their jobs too lightly. She sighed with a stern look in her eyes. Catherine has always been a strong-willed, archetypal female boss, but she seemed particularly unyielding on this matter. Reluctantly, I backed down for the time being. Then, a month later, on the morning of my sister's wedding day, I'm taking the day off after all. I called in. Catherine was furious. "Come in now, or I'll fire you." I was yelled at like that, but my decision remained unchanged. What a way to speak. At this point, I don't care if I get fired. I'd rather find a new job than work under such an oblivious boss. But then, my sister, who seemed to have overheard the call, approached me with a worried look. "What's wrong?" The person on the phone sounded really angry. I could hear it from here. It seemed she heard Catherine's yelling. "Actually, there's a company anniversary party today." I explained the situation to her. Her face turned pale. "What have you done? Go to work right now and attend a party. Forget about my wedding." "But I have the right to take paid leave. I applied a month in advance, even if it clashes with an important party. It's unfair not to be allowed to take leave on such an important day. But if you keep that up, you'll get fired. You just got this job. It's okay. I'm still young and educated. I'll find another job quickly." I reassured her and sent her off to prepare for her wedding. The wedding went smoothly that day. But my phone, set to silent mode, was filled with numerous missed calls from Catherine. The next day, I was called in by both Catherine and our department head, Harrison. "Michael, why did you take an unauthorized leave yesterday?" Harrison immediately said that upon seeing me. "What? I didn't take an authorized leave. I submitted my application a month in advance," but Catherine tore it up. I also called in the morning of the day. At this, Catherine turned red with anger. "Don't lie, Harrison. I never received any application, nor did I tear it up. I didn't receive any call that day either." I was shocked to be called a liar. Catherine was the real liar. "Then show us your phone call history. If you have nothing to hide, you should be able to show it, right?" Upon being challenged by Harrison, Catherine became indignant. "That's an invasion of privacy. I can't comply." Instead, I showed Harrison the call history on my phone. It had a record of the call I made to Catherine that morning. "Catherine, it seems you're the one lying." Harrison, "But I truly didn't receive any leave application. It's outrageous to call in the morning of the day, knowing you plan to take a leave. Please fire Michael." Catherine, "We can fire a valuable employee for such a reason." Harrison defended me. "That's the way of a major corporation. Not just anyone like Catherine can fire an employee." I breathed a sigh of relief. But from that day on, Catherine's terrible harassment to me began. "You're from a single-parent family, aren't you? No wonder you dress so poorly. I bet your suit is from some cheap discount store. Remember, we're a major corporation. Please dress properly so as not to tarnish our image." She must have found out somehow that my family was a single-parent household and ridiculed me every chance she got. Your sister probably couldn't get into a decent company either. Poor thing. Poverty seems to run in the family. I was infuriated, not just about the comments about my mother, but my sister too. My sister works at a well-known flower shop. When I retorted that, Catherine turned pale, repeating my words. "That shop? Yes, the one in front of the station." I wondered if she knew it. "Is your sister's name Elizabeth, by any chance?" Catherine guessed my sister's name correctly. "Yes, but do you know her?" "That's it. You're Elizabeth's brother." Catherine seemed not to hear me anymore and started muttering to herself. Then, on the following Sunday night, my sister called me. "Catherine from your company brought a wedding gift to our shop today." Catherine, "Why? Actually, I met her a long time ago." My sister said that and began to talk about what happened back then. It was an incident that happened 5 years ago. My sister was working at the flower shop in front of the city station that day too. With no customers around at that time, my sister looked up at the pedestrian bridge in front of the station. There was a woman there, seemingly lost in thought. The woman didn't move from that spot for 20 minutes. Eventually, she made a motion as if to lean over the railing of the bridge. Below was a wide highway, with large vehicles like trucks speeding by. She was about to jump official. Realizing this, my sister rushed out of the shop, ran up the stairs to the bridge. She then looked into her face from the side and spoke to her gently and calmly so as not to provoke her. "Ma'am, is something bothering you? I'm here to listen if you want to talk, anything at all. Oh, how about we go and have a drink together? I know a great place." My sister, seeing the woman in distress, took her hand and gently pulled her towards herself. She then went straight down the pedestrian bridge and back to the flower shop and told the manager why she was there and asked to be allowed to leave early. The manager graciously agreed. Afterward, my sister took the woman to a nearby pub and treated her a meal and some drinks. The best thing when you're feeling down is to eat something delicious and have someone listen to you. Saying so, my sister listened to her story. The woman, about a decade older than my sister at 35, shared that she had been abandoned by her live-in partner, whom she was planning to marry, leading her to despair. "I've been dumped at this age, and now I probably won't ever get married. My life seems utterly hopeless." Saying that, she cried. My sister consoled her empathetically. "I understand how sad and painful it is. I've been through a breakup too. It feels like the end of the world." As my sister showed empathy, the woman argued back. "But you're still young. You have your whole life ahead. I don't have a future anymore." However, my sister continued to encourage her persistently. "No, I don't think so. You're a wonderful person, so age doesn't matter. I am sure that one day you will meet someone who will love you with all their heart." My sister continued to listen to her complaints. Later, they went to another bar, helping the woman to vent her stress. "Thank you so much for today. I feel much better now," she said to my sister as they were leaving. "Whenever you want to relieve stress again, just call me." Saying this, they exchanged contact information, and later, she treated my sister to a meal. Shockingly, that woman was Catherine. However, after that incident, Catherine transferred to Los Angeles and they gradually lost touch. 3 years later, Catherine returned to New York, fell in love with a man she met through work, and got married. Today, she visited my sister's shop and said, "If I had jumped off that bridge back then, I wouldn't have met my husband. I'm happy now thanks to Elizabeth." She then presented my sister with a wedding gift. To think that Catherine was an acquaintance of my sister was surprising. It was surprising to learn that she had such a past. I had only seen her as a strong and confident figure at work. She was reflecting on the bad things she did to you. My sister said that over the phone. She said she treated you the same way because her boss was tough on her when she was young, but when your boss defended you, she got angry and said a lot of unpleasant things. She's really regretting it now. Even hearing these excuses, I couldn't forgive her for trying to get me fired with lies and for insulting my mother and sister. But the next day, Catherine called me to the conference room. "Michael, I'm sorry for everything. I was wrong." She sincerely apologized to me. After meeting Elizabeth again, I remembered the importance of caring for others. "I've been terrible, trying to do to you what was done to me when I was younger, lying, being sarcastic, and just being the worst." When I remained silent, she continued, "I think Elizabeth told you, but she's my lifesaver. I really regret treating her brother so badly. I can ask for forgiveness, but I intend to change and become better." I had no intention of forgiving her, but I couldn't ignore such a sincere apology. "I was wrong too. Taking a leave without your approval was wrong, but I will never forgive you for mocking my mother and sister." Catherine looked at me as if seeing something amazing. "Michael, you really care about your mother and sister." "Of course, I was able to go to college thanks to them." "That's wonderful. I'm truly sorry for how I spoke about them. Let me treat you tonight. How about we go for a drink? Oh, why don't you invite Elizabeth too?" So, I reluctantly agreed, and that night, Catherine, my sister, and I went for drinks at a pub near the office. Catherine shared various stories about her younger days at the company. Catherine was discriminated against by her then manager, Harrison, just because of her gender, and treated harshly. She had been looked down upon a lot, such as just because you're a woman or women are always like that. At that time, Harrison was particularly focused on a client, and when Catherine's grandmother passed away, the funeral clashed with the client's founding anniversary party. When Catherine asked for paid leave, Harrison was furious. "If you take leave, you'll be fired." Upon hearing that, she tearfully attended a party instead of her beloved grandmother's funeral. Because of such experiences, Catherine, now a supervisor, ended up doing the same thing to me, her subordinate. It was the worst way of thinking, doing to others what was done to me. I should have taken it as a lesson of what not to do. Seeing Elizabeth after so long made me feel ashamed of what I was doing. "Understood, Catherine. Realizing it is what's important." My sister said that and comforted Catherine. Looking at my sister, Catherine said, "I didn't know, but it was wrong of me to mock someone as good as you." Then I told her, "Learn from this and never judge or look down on people based on their education or family background, no matter who they are." Catherine then shrugged her shoulders in embarrassment. "I've reflected on it. I won't do it again." Since then, Catherine stopped being harsh to me. She became known for being kind not just to me, but to all the employees. And sometimes, Catherine, my sister, and I would go out for drinks together. Thus, Catherine and I, while being supervisor and subordinate, built a good relationship without any awkwardness. My name is Alex. I just turned 17 and became a sophomore in high school this spring. Actually, until last year, I attended a high school known for its strong football program. I started playing football in elementary school and got a sports scholarship to that high school when I was in junior high. Honestly, when I first started playing football, my athletic ability was below average. But I wanted to improve, so I spent all my free time practicing football. All that effort paid off when I received a recommendation from the prestigious school, and I was truly happy, thinking I could continue playing the sport I loved. However, once I got to high school, I couldn't fit in with the football team at all. Despite there being many team members, I couldn't make friends with anyone, and before I knew it, I became the target of their teasing. I don't have any special skills besides football, and I'm not good at talking, so I don't have many friends. It seemed like everyone around me found me undesirable, including my senior, Michael, and everyone else, who looked down on me. Even the coach seemed to notice that I stood out awkwardly within the team. When I went to submit my resignation from the team, the coach seemed really relieved. I hadn't made any remarkable contributions since joining, and there were many students better than me. It seemed the coach was internally troubled about how to deal with me. "Alex, you've done well so far. Life is much longer from here on out, and it's better to find something else you're passionate about." Hearing the coach's words, I was deeply shocked. It made me painfully aware that no one at this school needed me anymore. Thus, I dropped out of high school and transferred to a private high school in the neighboring state. The rumor that I had gone to a prestigious school had already spread in my hometown, and the middle school teachers wouldn't look kindly upon me dropping out despite getting in through a sports scholarship. Considering that, I wanted to go as far away as possible. My grandmother lived alone in the neighboring state, so I moved in with her and started anew at the private high school. Honestly, I have no expectations for my new life. I don't plan to play football ever again, and I don't want to be hurt like that again. So, I decided to keep a low profile and just wait for the days to pass by quickly. Perhaps sensing my stance, my new classmates didn't try to involve themselves with me more than necessary. There seemed to be a few other students who had transferred for similar reasons, so I wasn't such a rare case in this school. I just hoped my days would continue to pass by peacefully. But then, an unexpected turn of events occurred in May. The entire school had a class match, and the sport, of all things, was football. Just when I thought I'd never play football again, I was bewildered but couldn't refuse to participate. Reluctantly stepping onto the field, I found myself surprisingly immersed in the game once it started. Though I was out of practice for about 3 months, my passes were accurate, and I even scored goals. I was so focused on the game that I didn't notice my surroundings, but when I did, I realized that everyone, including my class, was paying close attention to me. We won the match, leaving the opposing team, who were the favorites to win, in shock. "Alex, you're amazing. I never thought we could beat the team that was expected to win." My classmate Jordan approached me excitedly. "Oh no. I didn't expect to win against a team that was favored to win. I had planned to keep a low profile." Trying to brush it off, I said, No, it was just luck." But then I was suddenly approached from behind. "No, I can tell. Your football skills are exceptional. You must have practiced a lot, haven't you?" Turning around, I was stunned to see a breathtakingly beautiful girl. With her long hair flowing and slender legs peeking out from her tracksuit, she stood out on the field. Oh no. Being approached by such a beauty will only draw more attention to me. Unaware of my feelings, the beautiful girl continued excitedly. "I'm Johnson, the football team assistant. Alex, please, we need you to join our football team to help us rise to the top." "No, thanks. I've decided not to play football anymore." I turned my back on Johnson and dashed away. No way. I transferred schools to get away from football. And now to be scouted for the football team. According to Jordan, whom I spoke with the next day, she's quite popular around the school. Johnson is incredibly beautiful, right? Plus, she's been demonstrating her assistant skills since middle school. Her middle school even made it to a major tournament thanks to her assistant, and our football team's advisor has high hopes for her. Wow. Since the class match incident, Jordan and I found ourselves spending time together before we knew it. Despite my intention not to make any new friends, I never expected this outcome. Jordan is very approachable and kind, which allowed me to feel a sense of comfort with a friend after a long time. However, that doesn't mean I'm considering rejoining the football team. But Johnson didn't give up and came to me almost every day, persistently inviting me to join the football team. "Alex, let's play football. It's a waste for someone as talented as you not to play." During breaks, Johnson would appear in front of me, lively in her blazer. As soon as she showed up, the whole class turned their attention to us. Jordan, among others, seemed to find this interaction amusing, but I was always nervous. About that, as I've explained many times, I'm not interested in playing football. The class match was just a fluke. It wasn't a fluke. Wow, she suddenly got close, making my heart beat faster. Her sweet, feminine scent drifted towards me, drawing me in. For me, who had been focused solely on football, with no interaction with girls, Johnson's forward approach was overwhelmingly stimulating. Yet, oblivious to my feelings, she continued to argue her point with her big eyes fixed on me. "Besides, Alex, with some adjustments to your form, your skills could improve significantly. Our school's coach has a sports trainer qualification and is knowledgeable about such things." I was somewhat interested in this. The high school I had attended was more about brute force, with little regard for efficient training. A tailored approach to training and form could indeed lead to more effective improvement. Still, I couldn't bring myself to agree. Sorry, but I'm not interested. My voice came out colder than I intended. What? Johnson seemed to sense my coldness, showing a fleeting expression of sadness. For some reason, that made my heart ache. What was that about? What was that just now? But at that moment, the bell signaling the end of break rang, and Johnson, too, finally headed back to her own classroom. Noticing something was off, Jordan approached me with concern. Alex, are you okay? You seem a bit off. It's nothing. I felt guilty for hurting her feelings. Yet, in an attempt to justify myself, I came up with various excuses in my head. Johnson must be scouting me for her own benefit. Her reputation would rise if her managed team made it to a big tournament. Any guy would probably listen to such a beautiful girl's request. There must be other students with great athletic abilities in this school, not just me. I don't need to join a football team just for her sake. I realized these were terrible excuses filled with victim mentality, but perhaps I was still haunted by my past failures. I strongly wish never to be hurt by my beloved football again. A few days later, I woke up unusually early and arrived at school about 40 minutes earlier than usual. Wondering what to do so early, I accidentally spotted Johnson on the field. Though all club activities were supposed to be off this morning, there she was, dragging the field marker. And she was doing it all by herself. Seeing her like that instantly made my heart tighten. She truly cherishes the football team as their assistant. Without rest, diligently leveling the ground, I found myself compelled to speak to her for some reason. Good morning, Johnson. It must be tough to be working on the field so early in the morning. When she noticed my voice, she stopped her work and greeted me. Good morning, Alex. Yes, actually, there was a practice match with another school last night, and the ground ended up rougher than usual. So, I thought I'd clean it up, she said with a smile. Her sincerity was so palpable that in that moment, I truly thought she was beautiful. Not just her appearance, but I deeply realized how beautiful her heart is. The team members are really lucky to have someone like you as their assistant. Alex, do you have a moment after this? There's something I want to talk about. Please wait in front of the clubroom while I change into my uniform. Confused by her request, I responded, okay, and waited for her to finish changing. About 10 minutes later, the door to the clubroom opened and Johnson invited me in. Being alone in a closed room early in the morning with a beautiful girl like her was unbelievable. What could she possibly want to talk about? Due to extreme nervousness, my heart was pounding as if it were racing. Then, suddenly, she grabbed my hand. Alex, please touch this, she said. Caught off guard, I tried to look away, but she insisted, please, look closely, pressing my palm against her thigh. Huh, what is this? Surprised by the unexpected sensation, my eyes widened. There was a large, painful-looking scar on her thigh. Such a scar wouldn't have remained unless it was from a serious injury. Actually, I got this scar during a football match in my first year of junior high, she revealed. What? As I looked at her face in surprise, I saw a sorrowful expression. It was as if the pain inflicted by that scar was still present, even after 3 years. Alex, I've kept this quiet, but my birth family name is Taylor. Influenced by you, I played football until I got injured in elementary school, she confessed. Wait, Johnson, was that Emily? As a kid, I often played football with friends at the local park. Among them was a girl named Emily Taylor, who tried to play football with the boys. However, the boys disliked her presence. They thought it was ridiculous for a girl to play football and tried to drive Emily out of the park. But from the moment I saw her, I felt she had something special. Despite being ridiculed by the boys, she never gave up and chased the ball with unwavering passion. Inspired by her zeal, I eventually started practicing with her, and she became one of the best players in the park. After that, no boy dared to tell her to leave the park. In my memory, Emily was a tomboy with a short haircut and tan skin. I never imagined that the beautiful long-haired Emily in front of me was the same person. I was speechless from the shock. She continued to explain. After my parents divorced, I had to move away and couldn't say goodbye properly to you, Alex. But not a single day has passed when I haven't thought about you. Meeting you made me dedicate myself to football as a player until the day I got injured. Emily. I found myself calling her Emily just like in those days. So that was the reason she suddenly stopped coming to the park. When I got injured, I was devastated, thinking I could never play football again. As Emily spoke, her shoulders trembled, conveying her deep anguish. But I still love football. Becoming an assistant has given me a new purpose in life. Being involved with football in this way, and meeting you again, Alex, has made me incredibly happy, she said, her eyes brimming with tears, looking straight at me. How shallow I had been. Unlike Emily, even now, I could fully commit to football whenever I chose to. I was using my painful memory as an excuse to run away from football. Yet Emily, despite being physically and emotionally wounded, rebounded with a strong spirit and continued to love football. Losing to a younger girl like this, I was an incredible coward. But I believe I can still make a fresh start. Emily, thank you. I've come to realize my own feelings. I want to play football too. Alex, I'm so happy. It's been truly worthwhile being the assistant up until this day. Saying this, Emily finally showed me a smile, even as tears fell. The moment I saw her smile, my heart felt lighter. I want to protect this smile. I want to face football with all my heart again. That was the moment I truly realized this. Afterward, I officially joined a football team and started practicing with the other members. Thanks to Emily, the team's mood maker, the atmosphere within the club was excellent, and I quickly became part of the team. The coach was certainly strict, but he cared deeply for every team member and used his trainer qualifications to provide appropriate guidance. With the coach's instruction and Emily's support, the team members steadily improved and managed to win the city tournament. Next, we aim to compete in the state tournament. Let's eat. As I was energetically eating breakfast before going to school, my grandmother opened her mouth with a smile. It's really good to see Alex so energetic. You truly come alive when you're playing football. My grandmother had been worried about me, so it was great to finally put her mind at ease. The reason I can enjoy my days like this is all thanks to Emily. Thank you, Grandma. I'm really blessed. After saying, that was very good breakfast, I dashed off to school. I wanted to play football, even if just for a moment. With that thought, I felt as light as if I had wings on my feet, allowing me to run effortlessly. Emily was already on the field, leveling the ground as usual. Good morning, Alex. Good morning. All right, I'm going to help with the leveling too. Saying that, I joined Emily and worked on the field together. Our conversation was mainly about the upcoming tournament. Spending time with her like this made me deeply realize how special she was to me. I wanted to be closer with her not just as an assistant and a team member, but in a more significant way. Emily, what is it? The moment she looked at me with her big, beautiful eyes, I felt my heart race and lost my words. It's nothing. Come on, it's not fair to stop halfway. I'll tell you if we win the next tournament. I can't express my feelings as directly as Emily does. So please wait a bit longer, I said in my mind. After we've grown a bit more through the tournament, I'll properly tell her how much I like her.